Last month, 6 people were arrested protesting the policies of Immigration and Customs Enforcement in Tampa. They had set up an encampment for nearly 2 weeks. It was called Occupy ICE Tampa. And we're speaking with a couple of them now. Sid Eastman and Torrie Kucka. Welcome to WMNF MidPoint, Torrie and Sid.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Before we talk about Occupy ICE Tampa, do either of you want to weigh in on what we heard from Jody Polk, who I hear you're familiar with?
I just want to say Jody Polk is my hero. She's a fantastic prison abolitionist. She fights for women and is bringing a lot of attention to the issue of, incarceration for women being the highest raising population of prisoners that we have. So I just think she's doing a fantastic job, and if anybody has the chance to go to one of her town halls, they should.
And I should say her group again, and this will be on our website as well, but Jody Polk is Executive Director of the Florida Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, so you could Google that if you'd like, but I'm going to put up a web link when we have our website, this web story up later today, and you can listen to that interview again if you'd like, or visit her website. So Sid Eastman and Torrie Kucka, you were in Occupy ICE Tampa. Why? Why were you protesting ICE, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security?
So we were out there, specifically the Abolish ICE and Occupy ICE movement has started and gained a lot of momentum after the separation of families. But personally for all of us, we've been attending protests at that building for almost a year. This isn't something new for us. We've been seeing the atrocities of them ripping families apart for much longer than it's been in mainstream media. And we were finally just like, we have to do something. We have to show people that we care and show people that we're not going to let them just keep doing this with no arguments, no one standing against it.
And there were other Occupy ICE encampments. I'm thinking of Portland, but there are probably several others that this was modeled on.
Yeah, there have been dozens popping up all around the country, and we're all in contact, like helping one another figure out our problems and keep going and grow.
You were there for 12 days, and both of you were there most of the time. It wasn't just something where you pop in for an hour or two here and there. You essentially lived in this space for almost 2 weeks. What was that like?
Hot and uncomfortable at times, but I think what stood out the most is how much support we actually got from a lot of people who weren't participating, bringing by food and water and stopping by just to make sure we were okay, holding the space down if one of us wasn't available. So it was actually a really positive, experience that was very unifying for the community in my opinion.
And this is very similar to from, I guess it was 7 years ago, there was Occupy Tampa and the other Occupies around the country and around the world, really, where there were a series of tents there and people would sleep in the grass in the tents at night and then camp out there during the day and have a communal type of atmosphere. What are some of the things that you did as a community there? Cooked meals, I assume, and
yeah, we cooked together, we did art, we had like community discussions where we would discuss like our feelings, which sounds a little ridiculous, but it was really sweet, and we just all bonded, discussed ideas for what we want to do outside of this movement, inside of this movement. It was just great. I think our bonds with one another grew so much during those 12 days.
That's Torrie Kucka, and we also have Sid Eastman with the Occupy ICE Tampa, and if you'd like to call in, the number is 813-239-9663. We'll continue to talk about the Occupy ICE encampment and their arrest, and you can email us at dj@wmnf.org. You can text 813-433-0885. We have Shane in Tampa on the line. Hi Shane, what would you like to say?
Incarcerated. I think we need to come together instead of thinking about the women incarcerated, or the blacks incarcerated, or the Hispanics incarcerated. Let's talk about incarcerated people, period. Because all of us, I was incarcerated, all of us are mistreated behind those bars. We have no voice. And then if we want to protest, our protests don't even get heard outside those walls, so no one knows. Your family don't even know if you're protesting. Stop all that. So instead of separating, saying women who you, they'll hate you because they treat you that way. Everybody is assumed guilty once you're in custody. Well, a lot of people are innocent. We need to help all of them, everyone who's incarcerated, even those who are guilty.
Shane, you're right. I think a lot of people don't know what it's like. Why don't you tell us? Do you have a story that you could tell about what happened to you, and that this will let people know what it's like?
I was in Mayo, Florida. I was in the box because the officer, he and I, we had a conversation. I got verbal disrespect, so they put me in confinement. As we was in confinement, there were some young guys in there. So young guys act a lot different. So it was lasting. It was lasting like Barney Simpson. Ha ha. Doing that, the guy got mad. When it was time for us to eat, our juice comes in this orange cooler. I'm in the box so I can see it. When it's chow time, I can see it. The guy took it, he waited, everybody got their drink. The trustees got their drink. He took the top off. He blew his nose. I held one side of his nose and blew his nose in the container and spit this tobacco spit in there and stirred it up with his hand. That's what served to us. Yes, I drunk it. I'm thirsty. Excuse me. I'm thirsty because I was in that box. It's hot. In Butler, they turned the heaters on during the summer. They turned the heaters on. There's no AC in there, period. But they turned the heaters on during the summer because we wouldn't shut up. And y'all talking too much, shut up. And they turned the heaters on. We treated worse. They would not treat animals the way you treat incarcerated people. And then they expect, but when you come home to be normal, they don't teach you anything about normal. Profanity is used every day as normal speech. So when you come home and you have that type of normal speech, everybody look at you and there's something wrong with you, but this is how you've been trained every day. We expect for our people to come home and to be people and not animals or beasts. We can't train them as animals and beasts. You lock a person inside a hole,
Do you guys want to
inside a
respond?
room. It's like being locked in your bathroom for 8 months. I spent 8 months locked in my bathroom. When I come out.
Shane, I really appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you so much. Thanks for calling in and sharing your story. All right, take care. The number to call in is 813-239-9663. You can email dj@wmnf.org or text 813-433-0885. Shane was referring to an interview we had earlier on where the executive director of Florida Council for Incarcerated Prisoners was speaking out about the conditions in a prison in the Ocala area. And right now our guests are from Occupy ICE Tampa, and we're going to get to this in a few minutes. We're going to tie these two together because they're going to talk about some of the abuse, probably not as serious as what Shane was facing, but they're going to talk about some of the abuse when they were in custody. Sid Eastman is here and Torrie Kucka is here. They're with Occupy ICE Tampa. And I should ask you, what happened the day that you were arrested? What happened? What did you do in the morning? And then how were you eventually arrested?
So we started preparing, I would say, around 6 a.m. We got somebody's car and put some, I guess it was temporary paint. You were able to wash it off, but it had, we painted someone's car and wrote things like blood on your hands and abolish ICE, and somebody, I'm not going to say who, was willing to drive the car over in front of the building in order to block their parking lot. There's only one exit in and out. While that was happening, we walked onto the property, sat down, there were 6 of us, and we got the U-locks and locked together.
These are bicycle U-locks.
Mm-hmm, bicycle U-locks. So we were locked together 1-to-1, facing each other back to back. And
around your necks.
And we had a lock each around our necks.
So 3 pairs of people locked together with U-locks. And the police didn't arrest you right away. They probably told you to move and you refused. How did all that go on?
Yeah, we actually sat there for about 8 hours. We sang songs, we chanted, we had a pretty nice time for a while. The police did eventually come over and tell us we needed to exit the property. They told us, I think it was about 1:30 in the afternoon, that we would have 15 minutes to unlock ourselves and get off the property, and when we didn't comply, they came over and, told us that we were under arrest. And, that's also when they told us that we were resisting arrest without violence, even though all we did was sit there.
So one thing I want to note on that is while we're sitting there, the cops that were like babysitting us essentially were sitting there discussing their international travel plans and like discussing going to Greece and things like that. And I just thought that was like particularly disgusting and ironic that we are sitting on this building that is preventing people from being in our country for no reason while they're discussing their international travel plans.
And they eventually had to cut the bolts off of you, cut the locks, the bicycle locks off from around your necks, and the public wasn't able to see what happened. So why don't you describe what happened when they cut the bolts off?
So they initially came to us and said multiple times, we're going to do everything that we can to ensure your safety, but we can't promise it. Just kind of digging in that they could hurt us and we should get up and just go. And then eventually they covered our heads with wet hoods. They put glasses on us, gave us earplugs, and then 2 really, really soaked wet towels over us. And I'm not sure what the actual machine was called, but they just kind of chopped them off and then put us in handcuffs.
And that took a couple of minutes, or how long did it take?
Probably a total for all of us, maybe half an hour.
And were any of you injured in that process or in what happened later?
So during that process, nobody was injured. Later, though, I was, so I have piercings in my face. They told me when I first got there that I could keep in one of them. 30 minutes before I was released, my bail had already been posted. One of the officers came up to me and told me I had to take it out. It was a fresh piercing, so those aren't easy to get out because they're screwed in very tightly. So she sent me to the medical to have them literally rip it out of my face. When I left there, it was bloody and bruised, and you could see like the physical tears in my piercing. And so after that, I was like obviously upset. I was in pain. So I went and like sat with my legs up in a chair, and she came up and started lecturing me about how I need to learn to live by their rules. They didn't invite me there. And then I was just like, my response was, okay, thank you. And then she took me and put me in solitary and put me on the cement floor with my hands handcuffed behind my back, and then just pushed me forward, which ended up in me being hospitalized 2 days later for bruised ribs.
So that bruised your ribs, and you had to go to the hospital?
Yeah.
For a day?
I wasn't admitted to the hospital. They just gave me some pain medicine and told me to rest, but it made my breathing almost impossible. I am only now, a month later, starting to feel like I can fully take breaths again without it being excruciating.
Was anyone else injured?
I don't think anybody else was injured, but I do want to mention, another like sort of, injustice in the way we were treated. One of our fellow arrestees, Jen, is a trans man and was consistently misgendered throughout the entire process. He has on his identification the gender marker M for male, and they still put him with the women. They also forced him to take a pregnancy test before he even got to use the restroom, and that's after 8 hours of sitting in the hot sun, not having access to any bathrooms, and probably a good hour in booking before he even got to ask if he could use the restroom.
Did anyone else in your group have to take a pregnancy test?
We all did, but it's particularly insulting if you're, a man and you can't get pregnant and you say that, and, they continue to misgender you and force you to do that.
I feel like they drug tested us as well, and it was just the people that they perceived as women that they drug tested. They didn't drug test the men in our group.
That's one I hadn't heard of before. That's interesting. 813-239-9663. If you have a question or a comment to talk about this topic, you can email us at dj@wmnf.org or text 813-433-0885. We're talking with 2 of the people who were arrested at Occupy ICE Tampa. We have Sid Eastman and Torrie Kucka, and they are on here on WMNF Tampa. My name is Sean Kinane. I'm the host of MidPoint Monday. And later on, in about 20 minutes, about 15 minutes, you're going to hear the executive session is coming up after NPR headlines. But right now, we are taking your calls, 813-239-9663. What were you charged with?
So we have 4 total charges, 2 state resisting arrest and trespassing, and then 2 federal, the exact same, resisting arrest without violence and trespassing.
Do you have any idea of, if you're found guilty on these charges, what the penalties could be?
Could be up to 2 years back to back in jail, I believe. I don't think it's prison.
That's for the state, though. We aren't sure for the federal yet, worst case.
And you have court hearings coming up. Are these federal or state? And tell us the details about these court hearings.
Our federal is September 10th, I believe. We haven't all got our citations yet, so we're not sure if they're all going to be on the same day. And then our lawyer is still working on the state charges, so we're not sure for that one.
Sometimes when this happens, when protesters are arrested, the government either drops the case or there's some sort of plea deal. Have you guys been offered a plea agreement?
No, all we know is that they're definitely bringing charges against us, and I think at this stage, don't plan on taking a plea deal.
They did offer us, while we were in jail, they offered us individually deals, but they gave us stipulations that wouldn't work for everyone and told us that each individual had to accept it, that we couldn't discuss it as a group, which obviously we're not going to do that. So I thought that was interesting.
Is that something that you can tell me, like what kinds of things they offered you?
Yeah, so they offered to, instead of booking us, they were just going to let us leave right then, and then they said we just needed to stay away from the building, and they would work with us on our charges, essentially, to make them as small as they could. But they told us that they wouldn't apply if they weren't a Hillsborough Hillsborough County resident, which multiple people in our group weren't, and they told us that we had to accept it as individuals, that we couldn't discuss it as a group.
I was not offered that deal.
Okay. 813-239-9663 if you'd like to talk to one of the people who is arrested at Occupy ICE Tampa. Let's hear from Scott in Tampa. Hi, Scott. What would you like to say? Thank you, Scott. Thank you for that call.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
All right. We have a caller from Bradenton. Jack? Jack, go ahead. All right, thank you for that call. And first of all, what do we know about the landowner? And let me back up a second and tell the audience that this is a government building, federal government agency, but it doesn't own the land. It's renting from a private landowner. So that in itself